Hello, the internet, and welcome back to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch. We are your hosts, Gabriel and Brandon, and we are here to talk about the end of the Diamondback season, RIP. Um, yeah, I guess we can just get right into it. But first, I want to thank everybody for coming in here. If this is your first time watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on another episode. And if you're listening to us after the fact on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and review us because it really does help the algorithm, helps us stay on top of the, I guess, D-backs podcast charts. And also check us out on Twitter, on TikTok, Instagram. We're everywhere at Dbacks Dispatch. Check the link in the description for the Discord. It's always popping off in there, even
Today,
even
today,
today.
as soon as the game finished, it because I post, I'm like, what topics you guys want to see? And then boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're still really intrigued about what this team's gonna do. So it was good to see.
Yeah, and if you want to read the written content, I don't think it's gonna be too much written content coming up, just because most of the written content is recaps of the actual series themselves. So those you can find them on AZ Snake Pit, but we'll make sure to let you guys know what else is being written on there by our crew here. But let's just get down to it. The Diamondbacks came into San Diego looking to redeem themselves after the disastrous Dodger series, where they were in control of their destiny for a second, and then we all know how Wednesday ended, and we all know how Thursday went because just the front office decided they would save all their good actual starters for a meaningless series against the Padres for some reason. But Zach Gallen went in game one, and we talked about it a little beforehand with me and Brandon about the fact that Zach Gallen, as disastrous as his first half of the season was, he had been not just good lately, but like borderline elite again in his 11 games. 11 out of the let's see, 9 out of the 11 games that he started in since the deadline, he has had at least a quality start, and one of those was a 5 inning 3 run performance, and then the other one was 7 innings, I believe 4 or 5 runs. But for the most part, Zach Gallen has been able to keep this team in line for the win for the last 2 months or so, and in this case, unfortunately, that he wasn't able to do that. They put a five spot on him in the fourth inning, and at that point, it kind of just spelled the end for his day and for his season. And I guess we can talk about it after I run this down, but we can talk about Zach Gallen's comments before this game and how he felt about the bullpen game from Thursday, and my thoughts on the situation because this team screwed him so bad, and I don't think that bodes well for his return for at least a qualifying offer or in general. But Zach Allen wasn't able to do much, and then this offense, it was a good lineup. For the most part, when you have a lineup with Jake McCarthy in there, and Jake McCarthy, then Barossa getting that bats and everything. It's not going to be the best lineup available, unfortunately. And so in the end, it ended up being a 7-4 D-backs loss. And yeah, that spelled the end for the season. This team was able to rally back, and then losing 3 straight isn't going to help you in this situation. And the season kind of ended how it began, just kind of a lot of punting, a lot of weird in-game decisions that never made much sense. But overall, what were your thoughts, Brandon, with this game in general? What were your thoughts after the game when basically it was, the playoff hopes ended at this point?
My hopes for this series were very, 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 very low because in order for us to make the playoffs, basically we needed to sweep, and we needed the Brewers to take 2 or 3 and the Marlins to take 2 or 3. So I was like not feeling great because we hadn't really. Did we have a sweep all season? I don't like. I feel like maybe one or two.
The whole season, just in general,
Yeah.
it was five, I think. Five sweeps the whole season.
Okay. But I know there were a lot of them where we should have, and we just blew that last game. Like we would like just play awful in that final game. So I was. It is such a again we are not privy to kind of what goes on with this team behind closed doors. Like, was the bullpen decision Torrey's idea? Was it a front office decision? Because there was in an article that came out today that everything that people clown Torrey for sounds like it's not completely within his control. So I thought that was the most interesting part of that article. But we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. Game was okay. I was really excited because we got out front pretty early. In this one, leadoff home run by Ketel Marte. So congrats to him. Actually finished with a pretty decent season. Um, Gallon, yeah, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned. 103 pitches through not even 5 innings. Like, that's not what you need when it's the biggest game of the year. You need him to go 6, and you need him to go 7. We needed a quality start out of him in this one, and it was one of his little bit of his clunkers, in which he had a few of those here in the second half. They weren't as prevalent as they were in the first half. It seemed like that's all he was doing. So I just, even with us in a playoff spot, just never understood what the lineup construction, like what they were doing, because it never made sense to me. Like, everyone's saying, "Oh, don't play Lawler; he can't play defense," but Jake can't play defense either. Jake misses signs all the time, which we actually found out uh, on Friday that he missed a bunt sign Tuesday against the Dodgers.
Wednesday.
Like, no, Tuesday, because
No, it was
we
a
didn't.
Wednesday when he popped
No,
up.
no, no. Wednesday
Or he
was
did
the
that the day before.
yeah. Oh, no, no. Sorry,
No, it was
you're
the
right.
Wednesday.
I forgot that it was a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series, and not a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So
Yeah.
yeah, Wednesday. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, this freaking whole week is so frustrating with this team. But yeah, he missed the bunt sign, and I always thought it was odd. I always thought it was odd why they didn't. Like, I get Marte's not fast, but bases loaded, 1 out. Like, the one thing that Jake can do is bunt. So the fact that he missed that sign, and again, do we know, did he miss the sign, or did he really want to be the hero and have like a walk off hit? I'm like, you you could have if you laid down that bunt. But Friday's game was, it felt like it was over before it started.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know we got up early there, 1-0 in the first. But that fourth inning was rough. That was a really rough inning to watch. And I knew it was gonna end badly because he had thrown like 40 pitches in that inning alone, and I'm like, he's not getting Tatis out. Something bad's gonna happen, and it did. Tatis literally put the nail in the coffin of our season with that grand slam.
Yeah, I mean this game had a lot of the issues that we saw since the Dodger series, which was way too many out on the bases and errors. In this case, they're starting to mount a little bit of a rally in the third inning. I believe it's still. Let me check real quick. I believe they're still up. Yeah, it was 2-0 still in the third inning when Perdomo he hit a double and he just I don't know if he just didn't look at the third base coach or what he was doing. I mean, the ball did bounce away, but Jackson Merrill with his speed and his arm, and same with Tatis with his speed and his arm, that's not an arm that you want to test. You know, when the ball, I mean, the ball wasn't even like 30 feet away or anything. It was like maybe 10 feet away from Tatis when they recovered it, and he got thrown around at third base. So that was 2 outs, and then Kutsal comes up and strikes out swinging. So that was an out that could have potentially turned into a run, could have turned into a rally. Instead, they gave the Padres a free out, like they did to the Dodgers the last couple of games, just giving them free outs. And I'm not even including the bunts. I'm just meaning like outs on the bases. Blaze got caught stealing because the guy has 4 steals and 6 caught. He should just stop stealing. Like
Yeah, he's
him,
four
and
for
then
10. Come on, like, what are we doing
yeah,
here?
I,
He's
I don't
four
know
for
if that was a sign that he got, or if he has the green light no matter what. Like I know guys like Corbin probably have a green light every single time. So in this case, I think they should either reevaluate when he goes, if he goes at all. Like he has good speed, but he just does not have um, that
Based
jump
on
that
the
they have.
interaction that they had when he came back to the dugout, I think it was he went on his own because Torrey did not see like that is a situational awareness that you need to know. Like you
Yeah,
cannot, with us only being up 2-0, one out, you cannot get thrown out at second when you're not someone like Corbin Carroll who can. He always has the green light. So I think that's. I think a lot of them. He's he he's trying to embrace the whole chaos ball thing. And I'm like, there's really only three guys on this team that I feel comfortable going whenever they want: Corbin Carroll, Jake McCarthy, and Geraldo Perdomo. Perdomo's not fast, but if you look at his stealing percentage, he had a really good year. He didn't get thrown out a lot, so it's just before that,
a
yeah,
lot of
he
it's about the
four
jump.
for nine. Like as soon as you're like 4 for 7, 4 for 8. Like they should have told him you don't go unless we give the sign.
Yeah, yeah. So in this case, like we don't know. I don't think anybody asked him about who went, but it could have been. It could just gotten annoyed of him again, not getting the steal, and then I just looked this up in the fifth inning. Vargas coming off the bag. Jesus
Pop up slide,
Christ.
yeah, pop up
God
slide.
damn. I'm like, if that's not an encapsulation of the season, like I don't know what is. Just absolute boneheaded mistakes. And instead of it being a leadoff double to start off the fifth, it turned into an easy first out. Then of course Jake flies out, 2 outs. Perdomo hit a double. That would have scored another run. You're talking about again like two or three runs that they missed out on because of these boneheaded as plays, and then uh, Patel flew out to left fielder, and with Perdomo, he had actually stolen third base. So again, that would have been a sac fly. That's about 3 runs they could have gotten, and obviously the wheels fell out for Gallon, and then but still 3 runs in this case. It was six. If you had those 3 runs that they missed out on, it would be 5-6, five to
Yeah,
six in the fifth or sixth inning, and instead it was 2-6, and then after that they all kind of went down in order, and then you get to the what is the eighth inning, just absolute disaster class. Um, Patel walked, Corbin walked, and then Gabby struck out, and then they made a substitution because I believe Blaze just grounded out. They were able to at least get the man on, and then ADC walked, so then the bases were loaded. Not the bases were loaded. Yeah, the bases were loaded, and Tintal walked because again they just couldn't find the strike zone. Tintal was at least patient enough, and then
Vargas walked.
Vargas walked. That put him at four, and then of course Barossa just comes up, swings at three. He swung at 5 balls.
Yeah. So ball one inside, ball two bounces. Um, the next two pitches were strikes. Then there's ball three that's literally in the other batter's box. And then the sixth pitch, which he fouls off, is a ball. It is
Yeah,
a
and that's when and a lot of people say like, oh well, it's Mason Miller. That pitch was pulled from the get go. That thing did not come out of that. He was about to spike it. That's how bad that pitch was. Like it was a borderline spiked pitch. Like if Burroughs didn't foul it off, that thing would have hit the backstop.
and then the next one is like at least foot above the zone. I'm like,
That thing
first
was
of
at
all,
his head.
what are you doing? Like, there's 2 outs, Barossa. Like,
It's 2 outs. Mason Miller can't find the zone, and he swings at just everything.
you
And
literally
he,
had 2 hittable pitches in that at bat, and then you swung at 2 other ones that you shouldn't have. Like, it's yeah, like I'm sorry. Like I think we're gonna get into it in a later podcast. But what this team like there's so many decisions and roster construction moves that need to be made this off season that yeah, like it's like there are a lot of guys that have been here for a while that I personally am done with. Barossa is one of them. Like he's a great defender then have him be a defensive replacement in the ninth inning.
You know,
But you can't waste the roster spot on that. But yeah,
yeah,
like
there's
this
just
at
too
bat
many
frustrated me
wasted
the
spots.
most.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it's what we know that he is like this for the last few years. It's not like he's a super new guy. He's, it's not like a Jordan Lawler situation where he's had 20 at bats or something like that. It's not like he's had a ton of at bats either. So you can't really say that about him. But the fact that he didn't walk the entire season or his entire career until today, his first
Yeah.
career walk, like what does that tell you? That's and there's certain writers who are saying, "Well, he's actually been better than his numbers show." I'm like, not really. Like, I don't know what metrics you're looking at other than he's not a 100 average player. I mean, he's a 150 average player or something. Like, I don't know. Barossa shouldn't be on this team at all. Like, he should be in Reno. And Jake, I mean, we're getting to a point where we're looking at tough decisions to make with Jake. I would not extend him the because it's non-tendered. Is that the
Correct.
right
Correct.
non-tendered? Because it is his last year of arbitration. They can non-tender. I believe that one's November 1st. Is that the deadline?
Let's
I know the non-tenure and stuff like that is pretty much right after the season ends, so they can non-tenure him if they want to. They
It
can't
says it's early December.
early December.
Yeah.
So
Last year it was November 22nd.
okay, so I remember it being like around November-ish. So I guess it just depends on when the season ends and everything like that. But he's a non-tenure candidate, and I think they should because, as we've talked about before, we know who Jake is. This isn't his first season with the team. He's not a youngster. He's 28 years old. I believe he turns 29 next season. He's not a guy where you're like,
He's
oh
not
man,
tradable for everyone that's like trade him. You're gonna have to include him with somebody else.
you're gonna have to include an actual good player in order to get rid of him, or you can just non-tenure him and he's a free agent. Like anybody can pick it up at that point. And Scott Mack here is saying Thomas is gone. He has some trade value. I wouldn't be too sure about that just because Jake seems to be the one who's going to be gone. They kind of just need Thomas in the meantime. And I don't know. I mean, overall, Alec just had a really weird season where he hit relatively well, but his defense was a little bit down, but he was still making the same great plays that he always does. But it seems like maybe his speed or his jump, I don't know. There's something there that just didn't quite click for Thomas defensively this season, but he had a pretty good year. I mean, 249 with the 659 OPS. You want to see that grow a little bit more. But again, when he's kind of just facing righties and getting, partial at bats, you're going to get what you're going to get from some guys. Like you can't always expect them to be elite when they're kind of becoming part-time players. And especially at the beginning of the season, if you remember, uh, Jake McCarthy exclusively took the at bats in the games when there was a lefty on the mound, and Alec would just roll to the bench. And sometimes there was series and series of games where it was 3 or 4 games in a row where it was lefty. Jake took all 4 of those, and Alec was on the bench and maybe coming in for a pinch hit. So I'm still not fully done with Alec, although again, once you turn this roster into what it became eventually, Alec does become a much bigger glaring hole than he normally would have. I think when you pair him up with McCarthy and Vargas and Barossa, you pair all those guys up at the bottom part of the lineup. Those holes look a lot bigger than they would have if it was, Gino, Gurriel, and then Naylor. Like, it wasn't as long of a lineup as it could have been, and it was earlier in the season. But transitioning to our second topic here is, or I guess our first topic is Perdomo. Sorry, we took so long with this game. Perdomo finally, as of today, got his 20, or he got in this one, he got his 2020 season. He hit a home run, and then today he got his 100th RBI. So the 100 RBIs is actually a club record. No shortstop ever has had 100 RBI in a season, and so his final numbers for Perdomo, just quickly, he played 161 games. That's nuts, especially with under Tory. He had
He
173,
didn't have a choice. What was he putting in shortstop?
uh, 20 home runs, 100 RBI, 94 walks, and 83 strikeouts. So more walks and strikeouts. 27 stolen bases, six caught stealing, 290 average, 389 on base, 462 slug, 851 OPS, and he should get second place in MVP voting. Is he? No, because writers don't know that Arizona exists. So it's probably gonna be
It's gonna be
Schwarber, and
Schwarber, like because they only vote for guys that make the playoffs.
it's gonna be like Schwarber, Skeens, and then Perdomo.
We'll see.
But what were your thoughts on Perdomo? Do you think he still has more in the tank? Do you think he's going to be able to come back next season? Because both of us talked about him getting to 15 home runs this season. That was what we, you know, foresaw for him being
Yeah.
a 15 home run guy. He surpassed that. He actually upped his game even more with the steals. He had never really been much of a threat on the bases, but he almost doubled his season high, which was 16 in 2023. And this season he had almost 30. So, what do you foresee next season for Perdomo? Do you think he's gonna repeat what he did this season? Do you think there's gonna be a little bit of drop off, or do you think he's only gonna be improving?
To be honest, I want him to not play as many games because there were periods of time where you could see that he was struggling. Like he needed a day off. Like 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 there was like a series of time where we're like, are we sure that he should be playing? Like he just wasn't playing well, and it affected his defense. That's
Yeah,
the one thing
that
I
was
want
the
to.
he had a bone bruise for about 3 weeks or so, and that's when he
Yeah,
had all those. He doubled his error total
yeah,
during
like
that.
that. Like that's the like, but they had no one else to play at shortstop, so he had to play every day. Like it's really impressive that he had 161 games. So if we add the walks there, like almost 700 plate appearances, like 597 at bats. So I guess for me, the one thing was maybe limit his games just a little bit, so that his defense and his play at the plate can be like more consistent on the good side. It's insane. He had 14 career homers coming into this season. He had 20 this year. Like that would like as soon as we lost on Friday, there were two things that I wanted to accomplish in the next two games. He get his 20 homers, so he gets the 2020 and get 100 runs driven in. Like if he does not win Silver Slugger at shortstop in the National League, I'm gonna be like really pissed because Turner missed too much time. Ellie went like I don't know 2 months in between homers. Like who else is it gonna go to other than Perdomo? For
Lindor, he had 30 home runs.
yeah, but he was batting like 250.
They don't care. That's the unfortunate aspect of this is they don't care. They're gonna give it to. I mean, with this collapse, who knows? Oh wait, no, they turn in their votes. I think a week and a half before the season ends.
Yeah, just like MVP, I think they vote
Yeah,
like in the middle of the month, so that's why sometimes it's really odd. But no, I thought he's our team's MVP. So when they give out like the team MVP, it's him. Like
yeah.
there's no like he was fifth in the National League in WAR, FWAR, with at 7.1, 7 wins. Without Perdomo, our season ended like 2 weeks ago. That's
A-
like
and
that's
that's
insane.
and that's not even position player war. You're looking at
Correct.
overall war. So that's
Yeah.
you're talking about Skeens, and he's second behind Shohei. And Shohei, I believe, it's like a 7.5 or something like that.
Yeah. Like that's really impressive. I just he's done it every year. He's improved with something. So like what like could it be he walks more? I mean, he had 94. Maybe he increases that power just a little bit more. Maybe he gets to 25, maybe he gets to 30, and we have a shot of having three guys with 25 homers each. With because Marte finished with 27, Carroll what did Carroll finish with? Which it's funny. Carroll finally got off days. It was the last two games of the year, but he got some off days because I know Marte finished with 27. Yeah, so we had, wow, I didn't realize Carroll had 31, 31, 32. Um, yeah, and he was pretty much the same way. Like he had 30 less at bats than Perdomo. So for me, Marte, just limit the errors. Maybe play instead of 161, maybe like 150 to 155. I think would still be almost every day. Just because there are going to be stretches in the schedule where you play like 2 weeks straight and you don't have an off day. So, and there's only one person that I want to see playing shortstop that's not Perdomo, and that's Jordan Lawler.
Yeah.
There's nobody else on this team that should be playing shortstop. So, and then just increase that power a little bit more. Maybe get to 25 because he's made that improvement every year in something.
Yeah. So I think for me, I do want to see more of the power, but I want to see him maybe walk a little bit more because, like you said, during that stretch, it was about 2 weeks. He didn't walk. I think he walked maybe once in that 2 week stretch. He struck out a lot more than usual.
He had 94 walks.
94 walks. But
Like
we've
that's why
compared
I was
it
like, I
to
don't know, like how much better you can get than that.
well, we compared it to Juan Soto being Juan Soto without the power. Juan
Yeah.
Soto this season. I mean, as much as Mets fans want to bash him and blame him, he had 43 home runs. 43 home runs, 396 on base, 528 slugging, 924 OPS. Do you want to guess how many walks he had this season?
Who? Soto?
Juan Soto.
I want to go 110.
Nope. Higher.
What, 120?
He had 126.
Wow, that's a lot of walks. That's a lot of walks. Okay, did it freeze on me again? Because it's been cutting in and out like the entire stream.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm cutting off or you're cutting off.
No, no, no. It's just I think it's my internet because the stream seems to be hearing you just fine. It's with me every now and then, like you would freeze or you would like, but it's fine. It seems to be working now.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get any of that. We're just working through some technical difficulties. I don't really hear what you said, Brandon. I think you're the one who's choppy on my side, at least.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay. No, no. I was just saying how like absolutely crazy it is that one Soto had 120. Like that's absolutely
yeah,
insane.
126 walks. That's what I'm saying. That's where Perdomo, I know you can do it. I feel like he can get around. That's 30 more walks than Perdomo this season, and I feel like for the most part he probably can get there. Um, he just I don't know. The main thing with Perdomo is that he swings outside of the zone a little bit more than he
He
probably
does.
should. So, but also ABS system is coming up, so who knows how many more walks he's going to get? Because I remember, especially earlier this season, where he was taking walks rather than hits. A lot of those were not close to the strike zone. He was called out on strikes quite a few times to start the season. So, I'm very curious to see how big of a jump he's going to take with the ABS system coming up. Um, but the second thing we wanted to talk about was Zach Gallen, not just because he crapped the bed in this one, but because of what came out after the fact. Because of the Thursday game, it was a bullpen game. It seemed like it was a company decision to do that. It wasn't just a Tory thing. It seemed like it was a front office, and they just took the ball away from Zach Gallen, and we truly don't know what could have happened. Zach Gallen has been great at home this season, especially during this run. He's done very well against the Dodgers. He knows how to pitch really well against him. The Padres have truly been one of his kryptonites. And after the or before the game or after the game, he talked about the bullpen game, and he said and he knew at some point they were thinking about doing that. He just didn't know when it was going to happen. And he said in Philadelphia he wanted to have the rubber, the actual mound itself, like the little rubber on the mound, kind of to commemorate his time with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But then he said, like, oh well, the way the schedule works out, the last start at home will be his start, and so he didn't take the rubber in Philadelphia. Instead, he was going to take the rubber from Chase Field to commemorate his time here with the Diamondbacks if he doesn't resign. And he finds out, Wednesday night that he's not going to start. He said that he was honestly in shock. He said he was ready to take the ball, and this team just had other plans, and the season fell apart and screwed Zach Gallen in the process. What were your thoughts on this news that came out? Do you think it impacts this free agency at all? Like, there's a couple. We didn't even talk about him, but Nabil Chrismat was also DFA'd. There's there's a lot of face slapping going on, I think, in this organization right now. One of which is Jake being thrown under the bus, Nabil Chrismat just being told, "Hey, I know you did good for us, but bye. You sucked one game. We sent you to the bullpen. You mess up once, and you're gone." And Zach Gallen not getting the last start at home, what's possibly his last game of his D-backs career. So, what were your thoughts on it? Like I said, do you think this is going to impact free agency at all, or do you think that it's going to be one of those? Well, it was a company decision. They did what's best for the team.
So it really made me think that maybe he could be back next year. Like, does he take the qualifying offer that we are most likely going to offer? I like I what like it can't hurt to offer that. Like, even if he doesn't come back, at least we get that draft pick. But like, it also made me think, like, is he willing to take a little bit less to stay? That's what these comments, like, especially the fact, like, he really wanted to have his final start at home at Chase Field. To me, that was like, he it sounds like he's more willing because he knows what's going, like, he knows the team's gonna need like a true starting pitcher, because Burns, I still don't think he's back until the middle of August.
At that,
It's
yeah.
Yeah, like, it's Tommy John. Like, I've seen a lot of people say July. I'm like, 12 months, like, that's, even if he does, like, it's gonna be like a slow build up. Like, they'll be like, okay, we're gonna start you at like 50 pitches, and we'll do that for like 3 starts. Then we'll bump you up to seven. Like, it's
He's also not young either. If he
yeah.
was 25, 26, maybe, but he's just too old, I think.
So yeah, like this whole thing, and then the article that came out today from Dbacks on SI, like, really makes me think, like, sometimes what we get mad at Tory for, it's out of his control. So it sounds like there's a lot of dysfunction in this organization, which we kind of knew. Like, you could see, like, there's some, like, lineup decisions that you're like, there's no way someone who's in that dugout every day sees these sort of things and makes that decision. So that's why when I read that today, I'm like, okay, so can't be completely mad at Tory. Now the bullpen decisions, because basically he's in charge of what goes on once the game starts. So
Yeah.
unless they tell them, unless who again, I don't know if it's Hazen, Sade, like, is it some analytics people that are saying, like, we're never gonna find that out, by the way, because that is two-way inside baseball, and they don't want that sort of information to be general public knowledge. So yeah, I do want to bring Gallon back personally. What he did in the second half, I was really impressed with, and I've been saying it for the last 2 months. 3 years, 100 million.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about someone like Zach Gallen, last season he had a regression, but he was still like a 3.5 ERA guy. He wasn't as terrible, as sometimes we like to think, just because of how bad the season went. And last season, even mostly part of this season, when I've talked about Gallen or Erod, I've said, one of the common sayings, which is the back of the baseball card doesn't lie. And Zach Gallen has had way too much of a track record of being elite in his career for him to regress this much and this quickly. Same with Erod, with changing pitching coaches. Erod at least, had all those injuries last season. And again, this season we saw this stretch where he also had this stretch of like eight of 11, 8 of 12 quality starts or something like that. And even the ones that didn't have a quality start, he still was going 7 innings. So we've
Yeah,
seen
he
these
was
flashes from
deadly.
Erod. He's had a 3.5 or 3.7 ERA in his last 15 games or so. So there's a lot to like from Erod. Like I know a lot of people hate him, but he has shown flashes of brilliance. And someone with Gallon, he's a Diamondback through and through. He didn't want to take off his jersey. We've seen with the Boris clients what they do when they enter free agency, and that's put on Boris Corp gear the second season ends. And Gallon wasn't doing that. Gallon was waiting, and doing a press with the D-back shirt on, or D-back jersey on, and he himself said, that he didn't want to take it off. So I would think that maybe there is a chance that he would come back. Again, the issue is always going to be the qualifying offer. It is a little over 20 million. It's about 22 million for next season. Does this team think he's worth 22 million for next season, or does this team think he's actually worth, like you said, 3 years, 100 million? Um, Scott is saying here, money hungry Boras will get him to sign a deal elsewhere, even if it's 50 million more. I, I'm I am leaning towards that a little bit, just because of what happened with the Mets. The Mets invested zero money in their starting pitching this season. They went all in on Juan Soto and Pete Alonso, and spent zero money on. They just brought back Sean Manaea. That's about it. That's about the entire moves that they did for the pitching staff. And so they say Zach Gallen, they might be willing to overpay for him. And I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to be able to compete. I would like to see Gallen back for that with that qualifying offer. If not, kind of just do a 2 years, 20 million or 50 million total. But it's 20 million that first year, $5 million buyout, or the second year is a player option or something like that. Just kind of something where the team is getting what they might need, and so then Gallen's able to at least come into free agent at age 31 off of hopefully a bounce back year. So I would like to see him come back again. What are the options? What are other options does this
That
team
like
have?
that that's it right there. Like if we don't bring him back, our number 2 is fought. I'm sorry. I don't feel comfortable with that. And a lot of our guys in the minors are not even close to ready. They're probably 2027, 2028. Like we have the depth there. Like I'm actually pretty excited for our starting pitching with that. But Scott brings up Mena, unknown, unknown. Like
Yeah, he
I
was
would
he
rather
was
spend the money on a notable guy.
Yeah, and then the problem with Mena is that he was great, then he got injured, and he came back terrible. He was really, really bad when he came back, and I don't know if he ended the season pretty decently or not, but he is a guy that has a lot of question marks around him. And with free agency coming up, the Winter League is not the Winter League, the Arizona Fall League. I don't know if he was one of the guys who's going to be put
No.
on the Winter. No, okay, so we might not see him at all. This team might not see him do actually major league games for a while. So unless you want to wait until March comes around to see what Christian Mana does in spring training, the option might just be to give Zalin a 2-year deal with the player option for the second year. And guys like Merrill Kelly, again, he wasn't happy when they traded him. Who knows what they're going to offer him? I mean, he started off really well with the Texas Rangers, and then he fell apart in the last couple of games. So I believe he ended with like a 4 ERA with them. So who knows what's going to happen there? He is, what I believe, 36, going on 37 for next season. So again, who knows how much this team is going to be willing to offer him? They're cutting payroll, is what they said, and they cut enough payroll already. So I can't imagine how much payroll they're going to go after. So with Kelly and Gallen, you might have to choose one of the two. You choose the younger guy with a great track record, but the last couple of years haven't been the best, or the consistent veteran like Merrill Kelly, but who's also 36 years old. He's not a young guy. He has a lot of question marks, and I think that's kind of the story of the offseason is, we ended 2023 on such a high note, and we felt like we knew what this team was doing and what they're going to do. And there's a lot of question marks. There's no first baseman. There's no third baseman. We are down to, or I guess, three starting pitchers now. We just have Erod, Fott, and Nelly. We need at least three more guys to round out that rotation because one of these guys is going to get hurt at some point. So you need a guy who's going to be waiting in the wings to come up. And as of right now, that the starting pitching in Reno is really short. There's no Tommy Henry either. Blake Walson, I think, had an injury. So like,
So
there's
Walston is
Tommy
the
John, right?
yes, he's like the first one that got it, so he's the first one that's probably going to come back. So,
Yeah,
based on what the rosters are, here's who on the Arizona Diamondbacks is in the Arizona Fall League: Kyle Ament,
the relief
Jordan
pitcher.
Chalice, David Hageman. So that one I'm really excited about.
He's
He
one of
was
the trades, right?
correct. Yes, he was one of the guys we got. Dre Jameson and Jacob Steinmetz are the only guys that. Well, hold up, that's the pitchers. And then Kenny Castillo, Hansel Luis, Jack Hurley. So that's another one I'm pretty excited about. So there's like none of these guys. Like I'm surprised that Dre was able to go to the Arizona Fall. I didn't realize that if you've been at the, I guess as long as you have that prospect status still, you can
Yeah, I
qualify.
don't think he's had a full season. I think that's been the main issue with him. He just hasn't been healthy enough. And they've also haven't used him. They put him up and down. He also is. I wonder if it's an options thing. Like if you still have options to be sent down. If that's maybe the case, and I do think
Yeah.
Dre has options. So again, we'll see what happens with Zach Gallen, how he feels. We probably won't hear anything about it ever. I think until the decision is made because once Boris's guys go into free agency, there's usually no talk at all between the club and the player. It's all through Scott
Yeah.
Boris and some of the other guys. So we'll see what happens with Zach Gallen. Like I said, I do want him back, but at least if it's a 2-year deal, either a club option or a player option. So
Yeah.
that way, if he craps the bed again, or if he does great, let him go get a bigger contract somewhere else. It's going to hurt for us, but at least this team gave him another shot, and he was able to redeem himself here. And if he has a great year next season, from start to finish, this team could be in a playoff position again. But on to we're talking 40 minutes. We're barely on to game two. The reason why we held off is just because game two and game three were just absolutely terrible. Like there's nothing to talk about in these
There
games.
isn't.
There truly is, and other than that, Tori seems to hate Jordan Lawler. I know we joked
But
about it, but with the what do you call it? With it being open discussion for the lineups, but once the actual games start, it doesn't seem like he gets much playing time, anyways. Again, we'll see what happens in this offseason. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. And Jordan Lawler is one of them. If he's going to be dangled in some sort of trade, or if they're going to hold on to him, actually make him the third baseman of the year, because I know we're all on the shiny new toy that is Blaze. But I mentioned before, he's a super utility man. He's not a guy who should be playing every single day and be getting these huge at bats every single game. Um, because I broke it down for our group chat about Blaze. He's done this the last couple of years where he has an incredibly hot month and then just absolutely falls apart in the second month. So in his last 30 games, Blaze is batting 225, 322 on base, and 343 slugging. That's the guy that everybody wants as the future third baseman. He's also 26 years old, so he's not a young guy anymore. There's really nothing to develop when it comes to Blaze Alexander anymore. So there's a question mark. It's Blaze's job to take, I think. In my opinion, it should be. Lawler, after getting that hit, in his last 15 games, he's batting 300, 382 on base, 467 slugging for an over 800 OPS in that time. So, if he got in a couple more starts here and there, we could have seen Lawler really take off, but unfortunately, it's just not the way things work. But on to, I guess, our final topic, which is both, kind of, I guess, I don't even know how to say it, but both of them kind of intertwine each other. But there was a tweet today by John Gambadoro. I said it right this time. He said the Diamondbacks have not yet finalized the date yet for their end of season review meeting. What I can say is that owner Ken Kendrick is extremely disappointed in the results, saying, I have never been more disappointed in a season than this one because our expectations were so high. And that's something I agree with Ken Kendrick. The expectations were really, really high this season for them. And they just, this team, I guess, for the most part, underperformed in the first half, and then they sold off. A lot of the guys started performing. There's a saying about regressing to the mean. I think this team progressed to the mean. A lot of the guys like Gallen, Erod, Fott, they all progressed to the mean. They all became pitchers that they know they can be. Nobody was outperforming what they should be. Perdomo wasn't outperforming his stats. Corbin wasn't. Cataldo wasn't. A lot of these guys just started playing ball the way they should have. So in this case, it seems like, we've talked about this before. A lot of times, when stuff starts coming out for this team's so secretive with a lot of things. They don't let a lot of stuff leak to the media. But as soon as you start to hear little tricklings here and there, and that's all AZ sports media. Like for the longest time with the Suns, Monty Williams, there was so much dysfunction in that team. Nothing came out about that. Everybody was blaming the players, and especially Magadora was blaming Aiden a lot, which, deservedly so, but not every time for Aiden. But guys like Aiden were being directly targeted by the media, and some other guys were being targeted, and Kevin Durant was being targeted by the media. And then, eventually, Monty Williams gets fired, and suddenly the narrative changed to, and this was all over sports medias, Arizona, all their tweets and everything were all blaming Monty Williams and saying, oh, there's dysfunction. So, when they talk about there's smoke, there's fire, it seems to be a lot of, suddenly there seems to be a lot of smoke coming out about Torrey's future here, because there's none of this talk. And even in 2021, right away, Hazen in that last press conference of the year was straight up and said, I gave him a bad roster. Hey, Mike Hazen took the entire brunt of that in that 2021 when they lost 110 games. Mike Hazen said, I didn't give him a good enough roster, which was true. In that case, it was Hazen, but also this team was getting payroll. They were retooling, which is BS. They're straight up on a rebuild year. But I want to get your thoughts on this. But before, I also want to talk about the other piece of news that came out. It's an article by Alex D'Agostino on SI. So this was asking Tori some questions about, what, who, basically asking what people want to know about it. It's like, who's making the decisions behind the scenes? Is it Hazen? Is it a conglomerate? Like, who's making decisions on the field, off the field? And in this case, let me find the quote here. So the article says that Lovella does control in-game decisions, but that's not the only. But it's not the only person in charge of certain other areas. And in this case, Tori said the game has changed over the years, and I'm the manager of the baseball team once it hits the dugout. And he kept continuing to say, I believe in gut instinct, but there are certain things that change the mood and the mind of what decisions is made. And there's a group of people around me inside of a baseball day that will help me make a good decision. And he talks about the group behind the scenes and the personnel. And the article continues to talk about the fact that on the field, once everyone's out on the field, that's all Tori. Bullpen decisions, in-game changes, bunt signals, all that is Tori. But beforehand, some of the lineups and everything else, that's they call it open for discussion. We don't know how much is truly open for discussion. If it's something that he mentions, if it's open for discussion can also mean, like in this case, you can say, I give you a lineup, Brandon, and I tell you, do you have any problems with this lineup? And you tell me, yes, I do. And then I tell you, no, too bad. that's open for
Yep.
discussion because I asked you how you feel about that
Yep.
lineup. So at the end of the day, we truly don't know. Hazen has said before that he gives Tori a lineup. At the end of the day, just he decides what to do with it. Um, but he's also a guy who wants to keep his job. He can't go against the grain too many times, and so there's a lot of blame to go Tori's way, and there's also a lot of blame to go Hazen's way as well, and the entire front office and the organization in general. Um, you know, to defend Tori for a second, there a lot of teams, a lot of I guess fans want guys like Aaron Boone out or even Dave Roberts out, Kevin Cash, and I say those three specific guys because Buster only has mentioned it various times on his podcast that those three organizations, even the Atlanta Braves, those four or even three organizations, the front office has entire control of that team. The lineups, the once they're in the dugout, all these guys, the manager is literally just there, basically reading off a script. At that point, the manager has no say. So any changes that come out, guys who get put in, but put out of the bullpen, guys who come into pinch hit, it's all coming from upstairs. And that's why guys like Dave Roberts, Kevin Cash, Aaron Boone, that's why these guys don't get fired because they do what the front office tells them to do and they take the brunt of it. So, and it seems like there's a 50-50 here with Hazen and Tori. Hazen gives them, lineup cards, tells them what to do, and then Tori, at the end of the day, has final say once they're in the dugout. But what were your thoughts, Brandon, reading this? Did it change your mind at all on Tori? Do you still want him gone? Do you think they should get a new look? And also, do you think this team is finally seeming to try to maybe part ways with Tori?
It doesn't change too much of how I feel about Tori because most of the decisions that frustrate me are the in game decisions, like the whole like bullpen. Again, from this article, it's not very clear. Like, is it also one of those things where they tell them these are the only guys you can use today? Is that coming from the training staff? Is that coming from the front office? And I'm curious, is it just Mike Hazen that is providing this information, or is it other people within the front office that are basically telling Tori, yeah, here's your lineup. I'm going to ask you how you feel. We're not going to change it, but us as a fan base, we don't know what this is. Like everyone, like before today, I assumed that Tori made a majority of the lineup construction decisions, but Hazen kind of just gave him the pieces of the puzzle to work with. So when I read that article by Alex today, I'm not. I, I think we need a fresh start. I think we have definitely Tori has run its course. Like there are certain managers in all sports that can get you from point A to point B, like can do pretty well with that, but they can't get you over the top. Like I get Tori helped us get to the World Series, but we've been to the playoffs 3 times since he's been here, twice. 2017, I want to say one other. No, that was it. Might be just 2 or 3 in a 9-year stretch. Like that's just like that's just not enough. Now, if he stays, I'm not gonna be like fire and brimstone, angry, saying I know more than they do because there's a certain Twitter account that said, "Oh, you should have listened to me when I said this." And to me, that was a very like egotistical thing to say, to think that you actually, because if you knew so much, you wouldn't be watching as a fan, you'd be in Major League Baseball. So that's just my take. um Also, like I see this all the time. Oh, he has an under 500 winning percent. You're playing in a division with the Dodgers. Like, what do you expect? You do not have the payroll to meet with them. You're doing the best that you can. But this quote from Kendrick definitely made it seem like maybe he's gonna fire both of them, of Hazen and Lavello, because they really are a package deal. They've known each other for a while. They're very, very close. So it may just be a good thing to just completely clean house. And I think if you let those two go, you're gonna let the entire coaching staff go. Like Kaplan's gonna be gone. There's gonna be a whole new training staff, new hitting coaches, um, new bench coach. Dave McKay's probably gone. Like it's gonna be like a whole fresh start, and I don't know if he's gonna do that based on the money that they've kind of locked up to the core of this team. That's my thing. Like I either like he can't let both of them go because that is a fresh start. And you brought it up in our group chat, and I was thinking about it as well. If they do let Tori go, skip Schumacher. Like as soon as you post that, I'm right there with you. I think that because what he did with the Marlins in 23 with very limited roster, like I would love to see what he could do with this current roster that we have. So
Yeah,
if
I mean,
he is fired, I think it's tomorrow. I don't see Kendrick sitting on this for very long.
yeah, I mean, especially because they talk about the end of review stuff or end of year review, like hasn't been fully made. Like, it is probably a decision that's coming out sooner rather than later because at least at this point, if you fire a guy like Lavello, then he can go. He has the entire offseason to go find a job elsewhere, and he probably will. Like, there's probably teams that are
Someone
lining
will
up
get him
to.
because regardless of how a lot of you feel about Tori, he's a really good manager. If they would have made the playoffs, I think he would have gotten some votes for manager of the year, just solely based on the fact what he did the last 2 months of the year.
Yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of the players deserve a lot of the credit, but also a lot of the blame for this season as well. Like a lot of these guys didn't perform, they sold, and then they just started performing to their level. And like again, I've talked about this at length about the way like I know you didn't call it a collapse, but I felt like they collapsed because they had
The
the
last
wild
three
card
games.
spot. They had the wild card spot in possession. They had it in their grasp, and then they sent Perdomo to bunts. And I think for me, that was it. Like I had been done with Tori, but that was one of those where I was like, "Yep, that's why I want him gone." Like that's who does that. Dave Roberts doesn't put Shohei Ohtani to bunt in that situation. He lets him hit.
Well, first of you can't compare the two because Shohei never bunts.
No, but he can. He's bunted for base hits quite a few times. But either way, with the guy who just hit a walk off, and then you just
Yeah.
put him to bunt the next day under better circumstances, not even worse. They're better circumstances. There were 0 outs compared to 2 outs, and it was just one of those
I
things
don't
where I was
agree with the decision, but I'm not like completely against it. It just Roberts call literally called his bluff.
yeah, and I think that's one of those things where he just shouldn't. I mean, the guy couldn't find the zone. He threw like 5 balls to Perdomo, and Perdomo put the bunt down on one of those pitches, and on the one pitch that was right down the middle. That's the one Perdomo
It's
bunted
literally
on,
right
and
there. That's why he was able to
uh,
bunt it so well. It was literally right
and,
down the
and the
middle.
ball that was like right there is where he got the
Also,
base
that
hit
game,
on Tuesday.
that was not the reason we didn't make the playoffs.
No,
This season, the amount of games that we could point to from the bullpen alone was the reason we didn't make the playoffs.
so I'm glad you brought that up because that was a discussion I had with my brothers earlier about it. And the way I've always felt with circumstances like this is if you're where the Diamondbacks were, which was in control of their own destiny, the Reds had lost, the Mets had lost, the Diamondbacks were tied uh, with Cincinnati. They were a game behind. They were a game behind the Mets at this point. The Diamondbacks had won. They tie the Mets, and because of the tiebreaker, they take control of the wild card spot, and they would be one game ahead of the Reds. The reason why I have a problem with that sort of thoughts or mentality about like, well, you could point to a bunch of games is because of the same thing that I've always said about the ninth inning. In the ninth inning, if the bullpen blows it, but you go into the ninth inning and you're tied, whether you're home and away, both of you have 3 outs. It's with the mentality of 0-0, 3 outs to work with. And in this case, the Diamondbacks were in control. You put it in, in a what was it to divide it? Whatever it's called, like that stupid math thing when where you go four, what is it? Four for eight, you go to two for four. What is that called?
I'm not
Where
quite
you
sure.
like shorten like the fractions when you shorten your fractions up. God damn, I gotta go back to school. But anyways, if you look at it another way, it is the first game of the season. Both the Reds and the Mets have lost, and you have the chance to win one game and get ahead of them. It is everyone's at zero. You have a fresh start, and they made Perdomo bunt, and that's why they lost.
And that one's on Tori because, as we discussed, in-game manager decisions is on Tori. And Tori said after the game, like they asked him if that came up again, would you do it again? He's like, I don't know. So I think it was just a gut reaction at that moment. Like he just thought that was the best move. I would have liked to see him have a chance to hit because, as we brought up, he had, I think at that point, like 98 RBI. So, like, yeah, give him a shot to walk it off, especially when you shut them down in the 10th. If you
Yeah,
can shut them down in the 10th, like, you have to swing away.
yeah. At that point, it's like if it's the ninth inning, maybe you play a little bit more conservatively. But being the 10th inning, you have to start letting guys swing away, especially when it's the top of the order. You can't just have these guys bunt over and over again and hoping to get the same results you got on Tuesday, because we've seen it happen over and over again this season where they do that same thing, forcing Perdomo to bunt, which earlier in the season, they had the exact same thing happen and they had him bunt and they ended up losing that game as well. So we've seen this play out over and over again this season. And again, for me, that's my frustration with it, is that a lot of people say like, oh, well, look where Tory brought them. They were, they were on the
They
verge of
did it to
making
themselves, though.
who?
The players for
Yeah, I mean,
playing so terrible for 3 months out of the first
yeah,
three
but
months of
that's
the
my
year.
that's always gonna be my that's what I'm saying. That's my point, is that they were there though. They were there. They're one swing, literally one swing away from taking control of the wild card spot. That was
And
it. They're
it could
and
have changed these last four games. Like,
yeah,
it
because
definitely would have
I,
changed how
I don't I
Tori
don't think they
managed.
would have done the bullpen game
I don't think so
on
either.
Thursday.
I think they
I
would
don't think
have.
they would have done that. I think, whether Gallon fails at that point, that is one of those things where you can blame a guy like Gallon, like he didn't get the job done on Thursday, or but in this case, you know, it's just something that they're just all gonna have to live with. This team, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around at this point. The team failed, Tory failed, Hazen failed, um, Tory Hazen failed to get a good bullpen.
Hazen multiple times this season has really tried to take the blame off of Tori because it really is on Hazen. He did not provide him a major league caliber bullpen.
Yeah. And we talked about it. We said, like, it's one of the deepest bullpens this team has had, but we never mentioned it being the best bullpen in the league. We just said one of the deepest bullpens this team has had. And immediately, at least 2 weeks in, a lot of
I
the guys
didn't
are
need a
getting
top
hurt.
five bullpen. I didn't need, like, if they would have been like 15th, that would have been fine because we'd be playing more baseball right now. But we were a
Yeah.
bottom five bullpen.
Yeah. It's a lot of blame to go around. Everyone, like I said, if certain guys didn't get off to slow starts, if, it's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. But, point being, this team was right there. They had a chance to take care of, take control of their own destiny, and they all failed. This is an organizational failure. They had this team last year, and I was really frustrated last year. And I was told by so many people online, and they're still trotting out the same arguments of, oh, but despite all the injuries, we were still right there into the last day, so we should have hope for next season. And I said that last year, that's a loser mentality. I'm saying it again. It's a loser mentality to have these moral victories. Moral victories don't mean jack.
It's copium. That's all it
It
is.
it's all it is. But I'm being too much of a negative Nancy, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I want this team to win. I'm spending money. I'm devoting time, energy to this team, and I think they should win. What's the problem with that? What am I just here like, you know, what's the point of it? It was just one of those like, oh, we're just here to have fun. Like, then why is anybody wasting money on this team? Why is anybody watching this team if the point is just to have fun? The point is to root on your guys, to expect them to win, And the expectation every season, even if you have a team like the 2021 Diamondbacks, the expectation still is always going to be for every player in that dugout to win the World Series.
Yeah, if that's not your expectation going into the year, like there's no reason to play. Like even if it's the White Sox or the Rockies, like the expectation should be to win a World Series. It should be like that in every sport to win the championship because why else are you even playing?
Yeah. And, if you want to know what organizations look like when they don't care, look at the Pirates, look at the Rockies, look at, shoot, that was one of the Central teams. I can't even remember. Like, there's so many bad teams on the Central, unfortunately. But look at teams like
Twins.
the Twins. Look at teams like that. Those are teams who don't care. Those are ownership groups who don't care. Oh, look at the Orioles. Those are ownership groups that truly don't care about winning. That's what Arizona seemingly is turning to. Like, at least with the Suns, with Matt Ishbia, as garbage as he's been in a lot of ways, he was trying to win. And Ken Kendrick, for the most part, this last couple of years, he's been trying to win. And
Yes.
so, as fans and people watch his games, like, our expectations is to have this team win. If you ask any player on this team at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, and we saw it on the press conferences the last couple of days when they asked them about their expectation and everything else, everybody expected to win. And that's the mentality they went into the season. That was their mentality literally until they got eliminated. And even after they got eliminated, they are all pissed about it because they all want to win. Tori wants to win. Hazen wants to win. Hazen himself said he hates losing. Like, he hates it with a passion.
Which
He
is
never wants
why
to
I think
lose.
he is unwilling to do a true rebuild because he doesn't want to admit that we're not going to be competitive.
Yeah,
It's
and so
just
that's and there's times where there's been that argument before. They should do a true rebuild, like a lot of teams have, especially being a smaller market team. That's kind of the only way you can really truly compete at times is getting a few top 10, top 5 picks for a few years, and then suddenly you're in contention for the next 10 years or so. And because this team has been 10 games under 500, right around 500, they truly have never had a full rebuild because they just have too many good guys on the roster at one time that it just prevents that. But again, like,
locking up your core. Kind of like when you're doing that, you can't do a rebuild.
no, there's no way this team's going to be able to do a full rebuild with Corbin, with Perdomo, with
Marte,
Marte.
Burns,
I know
Martinez, all of those guys
Martinez,
are locked up.
and I know he's not locked up yet, but you still have a few more years of Gabby Moreno. Gabby Moreno is one of the best catchers and probably the best catcher in the National League. You can't just give up before the season even starts when you have these core group of guys ready to go every season. So we'll see what this team decides to do. I mean, there's Charles Elliott here saying um, that he will be pissed if next season it's Jake, Alec, and Burrows in the outfield. I guess I would second that feeling because this team doesn't have a third outfielder. We don't truly know when
Left
Gurriel
field.
is going to
Yeah.
be back.
Yeah. We don't know what's going on left.
Yeah, we don't truly know. Gurriel is going to be out with that ACL. It does take about a year to be fully ready. I saw some people saying like estimating 8 months, and 8 months is when he's resuming baseball activity,
There's only
basically.
one person that's done that, and that's Adrian Peterson, and that's because he's not human.
Yeah, so that's if you want to make a comparison to that, like then especially like in terms of the muscle that Adrian Peterson has over Gurriel. Like I know Gurriel is red, but he is not Adrian Peterson. So the timeline is probably closer again to July,
August.
August.
Yeah.
Starts baseball activities, goes down to Reno in July, gets his swing back. He can't swing. That's one of the big things. He can't swing for a long time. He can't run the bases, and he's an outfielder. If he was a DH purely, then yeah, maybe he'd be back a little bit sooner. So we don't have a true option for that left field spot. If this team goes out and gets a left fielder, because again, Gurriel could opt out soon, if not this season as well.
I
With
just
the
don't see
injury, I
why you
doubt
would
it.
do that
I don't.
at
I
this
doubt he
point.
would opt out, but I believe his last 2 years haven't opted out. So he hasn't opted out this season, and I believe he has an opt out
Disruptive.
next season.
Jorge Peterson.
Horace Pearson. But one guy that we've talked about tearing his way through the minors is Ryan Walchman. He ended it this year, I believe, winning the minor league player of the month, I believe, for the last month of the PCL. So he could be an option. We could be seeing him come up in March and then tearing the cover off the ball, seeing what he truly can be at the major league level. He takes over that spot, and then we could see Gurriel come up in May or June, as a primary DH. And then, you have that outfield pretty much set up. Again, maybe Alec isn't going to be as great, but when you have Corbin, if you have Walshman having a, great year, but again, there's no third baseman, there's no first baseman, and McCann is gone next season as well if they don't resign him. So there's a lot of questions on this team. Oh, Walshman was player of the minors. It wasn't just of the month. So there's still a lot of these young guys. There's still a lot to be seen. Um, I know they maybe don't want to waste money on that.
Also, Drew Jones,
Drew Jones is still
Slade Caldwell. Like,
these
there's
guys are
a
taking huge steps in the minor leagues. Drew Jones, he really struggled, but again, he's also shown, in the last couple of months since come back from injuries, he's really been hitting well. So he's also really young. He's 21, I believe, or
yeah.
something. He's still a baby. So everyone who wants to call him a bust, give him a couple
You know
more
who's
seasons.
also really young and feels like it's been up here? Perdomo's only 25, by the way.
Yeah,
So we have
Perdomo.
like at least 3 years of solid prime, like Geraldo Perdomo. So I'm very excited about that one.
Yeah. So again, the first base option right now is like Scott saying Locklear or Pavin Smith.
I think they platoon them. I don't want them to. Um,
How
yeah,
is Pavin Smith still on this team?
yeah,
How?
because he's hurt. Yeah, like how I don't know how much more we need to see.
I mean, this is his last season, so unless he wants to come back for $1 million deal for 2027, which maybe they're not even just not even going to be a 2027 season. Um, like Disruptive say, it's almost like the team shouldn't have full sold at the deadline. That's how I felt at the time. I felt like they should have just kept Naylor and Merrill Kelly. Those were the two guys that I felt this team should have kept. Gino, as great as he probably was going to be the guy who was going to get the biggest get for everybody.
Which we didn't really get that much for him.
We didn't get much for anyone. Like really, truly, just Garcia. But even then, if he was on the Mariners, he probably wouldn't have gotten any major league time just because of how deep their bullpen is. So we kind of, I'm not gonna say we lucked out. Like he is a pretty decent guy.
This is what I said earlier because
Crack open
Alonso opted out, so he can
crack open
address that.
checkbooks and get the polar bear to the deserts with Charles Elliott. So we have no bears here, so I don't know what the nickname would be. Like maybe if he goes to Melrose a lot, the Melrose district, he could be a bear there. But other than that, I really don't know.
It's gonna cost a lot because I saw on Spot Track like projected like 6 for 178.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
6 years for a guy of his age, I think.
Yeah, he's
I
30
mean,
years old.
this Scott Boras guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. A part of me would still prefer an actual first baseman and have him DH, but there's certain guys who just I think have too much ego about that
Oh,
sort of.
he would never be a full time DH.
No,
Years old.
I don't think.
Maybe when he gets older.
Yeah, so him. I mean, if there was any possible way to get Josh Naylor and Pete Alonso on this team, I'd feel a lot better.
I don't know if Naylor wants to come back. I'm
I don't think
still.
so. With the way the team treated him and sent him off and everything like that, especially they sent him off before the deadline. I felt like things kind of soured the organization and him. So I
I
don't think.
still think he might have been the one that kind of dropped that news with Marte.
I mean, he wasn't.
Like
I mean, he
I
wasn't
know he
on
wasn't
the
here
deadline.
in 24, but I could see that he would have been like angry that like Marte took days off when Naylor literally had an issue with his neck and he still played almost every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mike Cooper here is asking with how poor Christian Walker was, could they swing for a trade. I think it would just depend on what the Astros want to do. They missed out on the playoffs this season, which is the first time since I believe 2015. I believe, right? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
it was 2015 or 2016.
And the thing with Walker is that he did have a good second half.
He did.
Not great, but good second half. He was basically in line for what he's always been. He's always been like a 245, 250 with like an 800 OPS guy. And this season he ended 238, 297 on base, 421 for 718. So not up to his standards, but I do think a lot of these guys
2016.
leave. A lot of the guys who left Arizona just kind of regressed heavily. So maybe, as much as crap as we give him, but maybe Joe Mather does know how to talk to some of these veterans like Christian Walker and Gino. Gino really regressed with the Mariners. So did Randall Grichuk. So maybe he's the veteran whisperer or something. So, or Jock Peterson as well. I forgot about him. So who knows? Who knows what they want to do? But the problem with Walker is just going to be his salary for what he did this
Yeah.
season, which is
As
regression.
Charles says.
Yeah, this is the 40 million total for 2 years, 0.2 WAR left. So, with a guy like him, he could make a huge comeback for next season. He could be. One thing I want people to remember: he started off March with an oblique injury as well. He didn't come back until like mid-April or something like that. So that really set him back. And we've talked about it before, especially with these veteran guys, when they don't have a proper spring training, they really, really struggle. So with someone like Walker having a full spring training, maybe hopefully not being injured, he could come back and be, the Christian Walker that we all knew and loved. So that's all, we have to look forward to and see what happens. Paul Goldschmidt hasn't announced a retirement either. So plop, 40-year-old Paul Goldschmidt out there, sign the polar bear, and then, figure it out or something.
We'll
But
see.
any final thoughts that you want to talk about? I think we're going to do an actual proper, RIP this season
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever Brett is around. I guess when he stops, choosing his wife and kid and job over us.
Right. Yeah. That's
So
unfortunately
we can
why
get our
he had.
full thoughts of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he had not been on for a while. Just because of all that stuff that's going on there with work and stuff. I guess my only thoughts were I'm I know you don't like because we played a win, but the fact that they had competitive games up to the last 4 days of the year after where we were on August 1st was good that they didn't completely give up because they could have done that after that Tiger series and going to the A's and losing everyone. Like this could have been a 70-win team, not an 80-win team. So just shows that Tory did not lose the clubhouse like everyone wanted to believe. It was great to see Blaze kind of do really well in August. He fell off in September. I'm really excited to watch Brandon Garcia pitch. I think that's the one piece probably that we got that can help this team next year. Andrew Hoppin looked good, but he struggled. So it looks like he's still not ready. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. Don't know if we're going to be talking about a new GM and manager, just a new manager, just a new GM, and then we're going to our schedule for the off season is very different. We'll most likely do one podcast a week, unless we have emergency ones with big news.
Yeah. So quickly, I just want to thank everybody for coming in here. Scott, Charles, Mike, Disruptive, Justin, Larry. I feel like there's a couple more in here that I might be missing. So I'm sorry if I missed you. I want to thank everybody for coming in here. Also, just want to quickly give a shout out to the Phoenix Mercury. They are going back to the WNBA finals, so should be exciting. Hopefully, they can show everyone else how it's done. And I want to say, Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3, Cancun.
Let's go.
Right.
See y'all later.
Bye.
in the back, bringing it on.